skip the ad, it's really annoying.
What are we making or what are we doing?
It's a little bit like mining for diamonds. You know, you're going to dig through a load of crap.
Thinking about what the end thing is going to be is the worst thing that you can probably do.
Hello, and welcome to the Unstoppable podcast series. I'm Kate, and today I'm joined by Emily and Mitch from OWB. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Today, specifically, we're going to be discussing the formula for better communications. And I want to initially get your thoughts around the fact that time and time again, we see that organizations jump to the what are we making or what are we doing? And why is that such a common trap in communication planning?
It's a good question. It's a good opener. I think a lot of the briefs, and you'll see it as well, a lot of the briefs that we receive have the format, the environment already in it. Like we want an event, or we want a this campaign or a that campaign. And actually, we need to take a couple of steps back. I think that's the trap. Thinking about what the end thing is going to be is probably the worst thing that you can probably
And why do you think that they always are jumping to that end point?
Because it's cool. Yeah. It's exciting. It's fun. It's interesting. It's what people see. It's the thing that your boss is going to look at first, isn't it? He or she's not going to look at the weeks and months of insight that you put into it. They're going to look at the...
So do you think it's because they can see where the money's being spent?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
And there's the memorable, flashy kind of thing that stays with them. And that's because it's usually evokes some kind of, especially if it's done well. Yeah. It evokes good behaviours, emotions, and it makes, for want of a better phrase, us think, feel and do a certain thing. But ultimately, and this is the really boring bit, to be quite honest, that's because you've got insight, strategy and the activation. Yeah.
So just talk me through that, Emily.
Well, you used the word formula earlier, and it kind of made me a bit twitchy because in effect, it's a formula. We want good insight. Yeah. So we want to know about who the audiences are, what they want to know, and why your brand is meeting their needs or wants. Mm-hmm. It's only when we know that can we go and build a strategy that is concise and strong enough to really endear your brand or your activation or whatever it is you're trying to achieve to your audiences wherever they are. And then only then can you make informed decisions about what you're going to spend your money on and how you're going to activate.
Okay, so insight, strategy, and then activation. Yeah. So just taking insight as the kind of first prong, I'm going to call it, we're in the context of communication, that insight piece, why is that so important that it's insight rather than assumption?
Assumption's useful in certain circumstances, but it's not necessarily truthful. It's not necessarily accurate. Insight is something that is accurate, tangible, but also something that is actionable. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about how much you know or even what you know. It's connecting all of those and using that really clever thinking to make it really concise. It's the art of keeping things simple. It's bloody hard.
Yeah, and if we're thinking about the fact that you've got to have that insight to create great strategy, how do these three things flow through from one to the other?
Typically, they are kind of one after the other, but it doesn't mean that they're necessarily the same size or of equal weighting. Okay. You might have a client that's 100 years old, has loads of data, loads of knowledge, knows their audiences really well, and actually they know too much for that to be insightful. Yeah. You've got to come at them and go, okay, so what's the one golden nugget or one thread that you want to carry through? What's your strategy going to be built on? Mm-hmm. And therefore, how best do we get that message across? Equally, you might have a brand new startup, a tiny company, or indeed we've had plenty of subsidiaries come through and go, how do we make sure that we align with a bigger brand? Therefore, the strategy has to be the most heavily worked to be as concise and polished as possible. It's a little bit like mining for diamonds. You're going to dig through a load of crap. Okay. To find them.
I'm sorry, Kate. Yeah. So I'd go a little bit the other way as well, in that I think we've reached a point in the comms industry where we don't speak to enough people. I don't think we ask enough questions.
Do you mean like as an agency we don't speak to enough people, or as the client?
As the client.
Okay.
And I think that happens on two fronts. It happens from a customer point of view, and that might be that might be fear of validating, your assumptions
things that could be bad,
could be wrong. Yeah. And I think it's also internally as well. And that might have something to do with physically where people are working now. It might be, we see people less and therefore out of sight, out of mind, perhaps. But yeah, I don't think we ask enough to get the full juice.
So what does good look like for you?
Ask them.
Okay. Ask the questions.
Ask more people.
And be genuinely listening, to the answer.
Exactly. Yeah. We can only really communicate our message if we're gathering in good insight and good data.
But you can't gather absolutely everything in the world because you'd be there for 17 years. And that's why often we find clients come to us. It's not that they don't know marketing. It's not that they don't know communications. It's they are juggling so many elements that they need to come to us, particularly given that we're OWB and the boutique agency, and they need something specific.
So do you think that's what predominantly clients are getting wrong in internal comms, is that they are not asking for help?
I wouldn't use the word wrong because it really depends on who the client is. I think it's they need an outsider's point of view. Everybody needs a mirror to reflect what they are actually doing in the world occasionally, because it's really easy, particularly when you look at internal comms, to make assumptions and to be quite navel-gazy rather than, is this still cool? Does this stand up to... we might be talking to corporate clients, for instance, and then we go, is this as cool as Spotify's latest? Does this stand up to the Netflix of the world? They might not have the big budgets, but there's ideas and concepts and creative ways of thinking that can be used, borrowed, and embraced.
And it's the thing behind, sorry, Kate, it's the thing behind the glass, right? Like, you might not tell your immediate superior what you think of the organisation, how we should appear.
Yeah.
But you might tell Emily or I. Yeah. And that's the thing that we need. We need the authenticity. Yeah. We need the organic sentiment of the organisation to make it, to turn it into its right thing.
And do you think then, when you're actually planning that sort of comms campaign, that doing that kind of level of groundwork takes away some of the risk of the success of the output?
I think it does, yeah.
Okay.
Because actually 9 times out of 10, it proves the concept before you get to those. For instance, when we do a big TV ad, we all know there's a bit of compliance involved and you've got to mention to Ofcom what your plans are. Yeah. But actually, you've also got to know that all that money isn't going to fall flat on its face, and you're not going to put it on a streaming service and get forgotten about 2 months later.
You mentioned a couple of different platforms there, and thinking about that output and how we're putting the piece of communication out into the world. Yeah. I guess there must be a lot, as there are so many different platforms now, there must be a lot of clients coming to the conversation and going, we want to do a TikTok, or we want to do it this way. And how do we help clients guide them a little bit into not just going with what's now, but actually what's appropriate for their audience?
Yeah, it's a trends thing, isn't it? Ultimately, I think, and trends are exactly what they say they are. They're up and they're down and they're inconsistent. You
can marry that up though. You can look at what's available and go, okay, what's possible? Yeah. Because you can take a really good idea that's worked really well for a large-scale event, a TV ad or whatever else. And there are clever ways of deploying similar ideas in different places. So you might take a film, for example, and go, actually, we're going to cut this into social edits. You might take a single large-scale event and go, actually, can we make this hybrid? We saw a lot of that during COVID, for instance, but we've learned a lot since then. So we can take things on roadshows. We can balance the cost and the need to get to people on the ground in manufacturing, for instance, by taking stuff to them and saying, actually, although this feels a lot in petrol or in logistics or in paying for us to get there, in the long term, it's more memorable for, say, 5 to 10 years rather than just that 1 year that you're doing it for.
And surely, regardless of whatever that media is the story has to be at the heart of it. If that story isn't there...
The story is what makes it human.
Yeah.
The story is what makes it memorable and emotive. Without emotion, people don't remember things enough to act. And then your message ultimately has fallen flat.
It is true. The context of the environment is important, though. The story is the story, but I think it needs to appear in the right areas and the right environment.
Yeah. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, a lot of my work is with wealth managers.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's done this yet, so you can have it if you want. So I don't understand why wealth managers don't do more marketing and more collateral and more material in coffee shops. I'm a relatively new dad. You're a relatively new mum. A lot of the time that we spent in those early months are in coffee shops.
Well, that's just because I just needed to be awake.
Well, that's also true. But if we were hearing and seeing messages about kind of the next step in life and the next journey, and have you thought about your pension? Have you thought about wealth management? Have you thought about life insurance? All of those things that we don't think about, right?
I was thinking about holidays, yeah.
Exactly. But I think turning up, what I'm saying is turning up environments that are contextually relevant might pull a string.
And you saying actually about that new parent thing, for me, that's when I had my little girl, was when I realised that old media existed. I was going out for walks every day, so out of home suddenly became visible again. And actually, I've done a lot of work recently for different charities, and that's still really powerful. And sometimes it's just about reminding people that those channels that have always existed have a place, have a use, and have lasted the test of time, because they're not necessarily as shiny or flashy, but they still work.
I think that's really, really great, especially when considering podcasts and that audio side of things too. Like, I think we actually don't talk to a lot of clients necessarily about audio as a media rather than.
It's a good point. We're always consuming, aren't we? And in the downtime is where we can resonate with people the most, perhaps.
The great thing about audio is that it can be passive. That doesn't mean it's not working, because you can still hear the beginning of a song or the beginning of an advert and know immediately who that brand is, even if you've gone, skip the ad, it's really annoying, get lost, I've got stuff to do. But that brand is still recognisable because it's still in your head.
Being creative doesn't have to be vibrant colours and neon and big, bold fonts. That's not what creative is. Creative is the execution. I've done a campaign recently in the last 12 months or so that was a black screen, white text and a voice note.
Yeah.
And I think it is the most successful campaign I've ever done.
Simplicity sometimes.
Because simplicity, it was about it was a powerful message, but it's about that message resonating rather than lights, camera, action sometimes.
That's really nice. So if you were going to leave us with one thought for those people who might be watching to just help them to feel unstoppable when planning their communications, what would that be?
How to be unstoppable. I think it's really easy to skip the steps. And I think you mentioned the word trap earlier, and I think that's a trap that we're all, kind of prone to falling into. And it is easy. I get it. Like the flashy, exciting thing at the end of the yellow brick road, we all want to go and deliver, and we're the same. We want to go and deliver that as well. But I think you have to earn the stripes. You have to do the hard yards, and you have to build proper strong insight to create a meaningful strategy that when you get to the activation, the execution, people can resonate with it, people can take it home, and people can buy into it.
Mitch has gone quite deep there, and I'd say no matter what size or industry you're working in, it's three things. It's insight, it's strategy, it's activation.
Yeah.
They'll look different for everybody, but you just remember those three words and you won't go far wrong.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. For more Unstoppable podcast content, check out the DRP Group channels. Goodbye.